India is the world's oldest and largest civilization. It is also the longest continuing civilization. Indus Saraswati was the largest civilization in the ancient world, developed over 12,000 years ago. The Indus and Saraswati river valleys of Bharatvarsha were home to this ancient civilization. A study by IIT Kharagpur, published in the prestigious Wiley Journal of Quaternary Science, points to the fact that the decline of Dholavira, a Harappan site, might be linked to drying up of a mighty Himalayan river flowing through the run of Kutch. This multidisciplinary study included researchers from several renowned institutions such as the Archaeological Survey of India, Deccan College PGRI Pune, Physical Research Laboratory and Department of Culture Gujarat. This study dated archaeological remains from all the stages and also inferred climatic shifts through time which led to the rise and the fall of the Harappan city. The study concluded that a mighty river like Saraswati, as mentioned in the Rigveda, flowed from the Himalayas to the sea. This might have been the life source of the Harappan civilization. Traditionally, early civilizations have been ranked in order of importance according to degrees of sophistication in the development and usage of script, agriculture, urbanization, architecture, and trade. By all these measures, the Indus Saraswati civilization must be ranked as among the most advanced. One quite interesting example is the similarity of geometrical designs and measures of Harappan structures with those given in the Rigveda, Kautilya's Arthashastra, Shulba Sutras, Varahamihir's Brihad Samhita, etc. Pasupati seal, mother goddess, fire altars with trace of ash and charcoal, yogic postures are the other highlights. Rigveda records the river Saraswati being in its full might and meeting the sea, while literature coming after it mentions a gradual dry up. Therefore, loss of the river Saraswati should have taken place after the composition of the Rigvedas. The latest archaeological evidence shows that by the end of the Indus civilization, the river had totally dried up. Therefore, the Vedic literature must have been composed before the end of the Indus Valley civilization. Given that the Rigveda mentions Saraswati in full might meeting the sea from the mountains based on geological evidence, its composition would coincide in the latest with the mature phase of the Indus Valley civilization. Based on the above mentioned paper, Rigveda should have been composed between 9000 and 4500 BCE. For the first time, scientists have sequenced the genome of a person from the Harappan or Indus Valley civilization, which peaked in today's India-Pakistan border region around 2600 to 1900 BCE. A trace amount of DNA from a woman in a 4500-year-old burial site, painstakingly recovered from ancient skeletal remains, gives researchers a window into one of the oldest civilizations in the world. Archaeologist Vasant Shinde, one of the authors of the study, said, "The study conclusively points to the fact that Harappan people are the same as Vedic people." David Rake, a geneticist at Harvard Medical School, said in a statement, "This finding ties people in South Asia today directly to the Indus Valley civilization."
By an Indian professor from the Deccan University, Deccan College in Pune, and David Reich, who has been compiling a DNA history of the subcontinent and regions around here in Harvard University. Now, the reason this is huge is that they basically found a 5,000-year-old skeleton of a woman who lived around 2800 BC. After doing years and years of genetic analysis, they finally managed to pull out some cognizable DNA. That the DNA coding, the DNA map is unique to the Indian subcontinent. And this is what the DNA evidence now suggests, that there were ethnic Indians living in India who, from the Stone Age, from hunter gatherers, then learned how to farm, became farmers, then built the cities, and these were all ethnic to India, all indigenous to the Indic region around this Saraswati River, which is where the large sites have actually been found. That actually this entire gamut of understanding of our history changes, and it is so important, Devika, that each and every one of us, 1.3 billion Indians living here, the 40 million persons of Indian origin, and the larger Indian diaspora all over the world.
This gives a serious blow to the Aryan invasion theory. It is worth noting that the Rigveda mentions Saraswati using various terms such as one of the seven sisters, unbroken, pure in her course from mountain to sea, and breaks through the ridges of the mountains with her strong waves. Several tirthas at its bank are also mentioned. The Nadi Suktam hymn of the Rigveda, which mentions 19 rivers starting from the Ganges, moving westward to Indus, and 3 of its tributaries flowing from Suleiman Ranges in Afghanistan, places Saraswati between the 2 rivers Yamuna and Satluj. The later Hindu literature also mentions the drying up and receding of the river. The archaeological evidence in favor of the Saraswati River provides a serious challenge to the settled chronology based in the assumption of Aryan invasion.
It is clearly that, you see, because the Saraswati is very central to the Rigveda, as I mentioned, and then even after the loss of the river, it remains central to the Indian consciousness. Many prayers include the name of Saraswati even as a river, even after it has disappeared.
A key to many of the unanswered questions is the language of the Harappans, which remains undeciphered as of today. It is important to note the difference between language and script at this moment. The same language, for example Sanskrit, can be written in different scripts. Bibhudev Mishra, in a detailed article, makes the case for a bilingual Sindhu-Saraswati civilization, wherein Sanskrit was the liturgical language, the language of rituals and ceremonies, while Proto-Dravidian was used for other purposes such as trade and transport. The point is, our civilizational identity, Sanatana Dharma, is so called because it survives through all these periods as a seed in the hearts of men that sparks the quest for the truth and gets expressed in various forms and languages. It is not tied to a particular language or time. It is critical that our Sanatana Dharma is practiced, preserved, and passed on to future generations. Daya Foundation for Social Responsibility is working hard to spread awareness and preserve our civilizational identity.